These major US airlines used to transport your pets in cargo holds, but now they won't take them unless you're in the military. If you're a regular American traveler planning to move across the country with your furry family member, you're about to discover that the aviation industry has quietly pulled the rug out from under pet owners nationwide. Just 5 years ago, you could book your dog or cat on virtually any major airline's cargo service. United's PetSafe program alone moved over 130,000 pets in 2017. Delta Cargo was a household name for pet transportation. American Airlines offered their Pet Embark service to anyone willing to pay the fees. Today, all three giants have essentially told regular travelers to find another way to move their pets. What happened here isn't just a policy change, it's a complete industry transformation that affects 94 million American households that own pets. That's 71% of all US households who now face dramatically different options when life requires them to relocate with their beloved animals. The writing was on the wall long before COVID gave airlines the perfect excuse to permanently end these services. The real catalyst happened on March 12, 2018, aboard United Flight 12 ROD 184 from Houston to LaGuardia. A 10-month-old French bulldog named Kokito was forced into an overhead bin by a flight attendant, despite his family following all the proper rules for in-cabin pet travel. The puppy barked for 2 hours of that 3.5-hour flight before falling silent. When the family opened the carrier at LaGuardia, Kokito was dead. The incident sparked immediate outrage. Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana didn't mince words when he said pets, including dogs, are now family members, and if you're allowed to bring them on an airplane, you shouldn't have to do it in a way your pet dies. Within 8 days, United suspended their entire PetSafe program indefinitely. What started as a temporary suspension became permanent policy. But Kokito's death wasn't an isolated incident for United. In 2017 alone, the airline reported 18 animal deaths out of 138,178 animals transported, more deaths than any other US carrier. That's a rate of 2.24 deaths per 10,000 animals, which sounds small until you realize we're talking about family members, not packages. The Department of Transportation data showed that 3/4 of all pet deaths in commercial aviation that year happened on United flights. The airline industry had been walking a tightrope with pet safety for years. Retired airline captain Denny Kelly explained the deadly physics of overhead bins. "There's no circulation at all in there," he said. "They're scared. Their heart rate goes up and they use more oxygen. And there's not enough oxygen in the first place. That just makes it worse." This wasn't news to airlines. It was a known risk they'd been managing through policy and training that clearly wasn't working. When the pandemic hit in March 2020, every major US airline suspended pet cargo services, citing health concerns and operational challenges. But here's where the story takes a cynical turn. As passenger flights resumed and cargo operations returned to normal, the pet programs didn't come back. Airlines had discovered that eliminating pet services meant eliminating liability, insurance costs, specialized training requirements, and the negative publicity that came with inevitable accidents. American Humane, the organization that had partnered with United on the PetSafe program, called out this convenient timing. "We are deeply troubled that some US airlines may be using this terrible economic and public health crisis to permanently ground domestic pet travel," they said. "As airlines continue to safely fly people across the country and the world, we see no reason why pets are being embargoed from cargo travel." Today's reality for regular travelers is stark. United's cargo pet service? Military personnel and State Department employees only. Delta Cargo for pets? Same restriction. American Airlines Pet Embark program. You guessed it, military and diplomatic personnel exclusively. These aren't temporary suspensions. These are permanent policy changes that have fundamentally altered how Americans move with their pets. The irony is that pet travel statistics show how desperately these services are needed. Recent 2024 surveys reveal that 78% of American pet owners travel with their pets each year. About 22% of dog owners took their pets on at least 3 flights in the past year, up from just 13% in 22 TEF. The demand isn't shrinking, it's exploding. Yet the supply has virtually disappeared. So what options remain for regular travelers? If your pet fits in a carrier that slides under an airline seat, you're fine. Most airlines still accept small pets in the cabin for fees ranging from $95 to $150 each way. But if you own a medium to large dog, or any pet that can't squeeze into a carrier roughly the size of a laptop bag, you're in trouble. Your only remaining major airline option is Alaska Airlines, which continues to offer their Pet Connect program to the general public. Alaska transported more than 35,000 animals in 2020 with no incidents, and they've positioned themselves as the go-to airline for pet owners. Their first-class care program includes pressurized cabins, 24-hour cargo monitoring, and professional animal handling. The service costs $150 each way for pets in kennels weighing up to 150 pounds combined. But Alaska doesn't fly everywhere, and their route network focuses primarily on the West Coast and Alaska. If you need to move from New York to Florida with a golden retriever, Alaska isn't going to help you. This has created a booming market for third-party pet relocation companies. Services like Air Pets International, Happy Tails Travel, Pet Relocation, and Starwood Pet Travel have stepped in to fill the void left by airlines. But here's where the economics get brutal for pet owners. The average cost for professional pet shipping is around $2,526, with many customers spending over $3,500 for complex relocations. Professional pet relocation companies charge anywhere from $1,000, depending on distance and paperwork requirements. Compare that to the old airline cargo fees of $150, and you're looking at a price increase of 500%. What used to be an expensive but manageable cost has become a luxury service that many families simply cannot afford. Ground transportation offers another alternative, but it comes with its own challenges and costs. Standard ground transport for one pet costs about $300 for shorter distances, but for moves exceeding 500 miles, private ground transportation ranges from $950 to $4,500. The math is simple. What used to be a half-day flight experience has become a multi-day road trip that can cost more than flying the entire family. For wealthy pet owners, luxury options have emerged. Bark Air, launched by the dog-centric company Bark, runs charter flights between New York's Westchester County Airport and airports near Los Angeles, London, and Paris. The service debuted in May 2024 with $6,000 domestic and $8,000 international one-way fares for each pet and their person. It's the ultimate in pet travel luxury, but it's accessible to maybe 1% of pet-owning families. The timing of these industry changes couldn't be worse for pet owners. The global pet relocation market was valued at $1.2 billion in 2025 and is projected to expand at 7.5% annually through 2033. The U.S. pet travel services market alone accounted for $895.2 million in revenue in 2024. Americans spent $183 billion on pets last year, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, with projections reaching $157 billion in 2025. These aren't small numbers. We're talking about a massive and growing market that airlines have essentially abandoned. The industry transformation becomes even more frustrating when you consider the safety statistics. Less than 0.01% of pets that traveled by air had incidents, meaning more than 99.99% arrived safely. In 2019, the Department of Transportation reported that 404,556 animals were transported by airlines with only 11 pet deaths. Those are remarkably good safety numbers for any form of transportation, yet airlines used high-profile incidents like Kokito's death to justify eliminating entire programs. The military and diplomatic carve-outs reveal the arbitrary nature of these policy decisions. If pet cargo transportation is too dangerous or logistically challenging for regular customers, why is it safe enough for military families? The truth is that airlines determined the profit margins and liability exposure weren't worth serving civilian customers, while government contracts provide guaranteed revenue and different liability structures. Recent regulatory changes have complicated the landscape even further. In August 2024, the CDC implemented new requirements for all dogs entering the United States from foreign countries, creating additional paperwork and cost burdens. The 2021 ruling that emotional support animals are no longer recognized for air travel has also reduced the total number of pets flying commercially. Alaska Airlines policy changes in 2025 show how even the remaining pet-friendly carriers are tightening restrictions. As of June 5, 2025, only dogs and cats can travel in cabin on Alaska flights. Rabbits and household birds are grandfathered only if tickets were purchased before that date, with travel required by April 4, 2020. Even the most pet-friendly airline is narrowing their definition of acceptable pets. The geographic implications of these changes are significant for American mobility. Military families get reassigned across the country and overseas regularly. They need reliable pet transportation, which is why airlines maintain those programs. But civilian families face job relocations, family emergencies, and life changes that require cross-country moves just as urgently. The difference in available options creates a two-tier system where your employment determines whether you can afford to keep your family together during a move. Pet relocation companies are marketing themselves aggressively to fill this gap. Weichert Workforce Mobility reports seeing a steady increase in companies including capped pet shipment allowances as part of employee relocation packages. Corporate America is adapting to the new reality by building pet transportation costs into relocation benefits. But this only helps employees of forward-thinking companies. The broader economic impact extends beyond individual families. The pet industry supports millions of jobs across breeding, veterinary care, pet supplies, grooming, and related services. When people can't afford to relocate with their pets, it affects their career mobility and economic opportunities. Some families are making devastating choices to rehome pets rather than pay thousands for relocation services. Looking ahead, there's little indication that major airlines will reverse these policies. The combination of reduced liability, eliminated specialized infrastructure costs, and fewer negative publicity incidents has created a business case for staying out of civilian pet transportation. United, Delta, and American have effectively decided that the military and diplomatic markets provide sufficient volume without the headaches of serving price-sensitive civilian customers. The future of pet travel lies increasingly with specialized companies and the remaining pet-friendly carriers like Alaska Airlines. But Alaska's route limitations mean many Americans are geographically cut off from affordable pet transportation options. Charter services like Bark Air represent the premium end of the market, but they're not scalable solutions for middle-class families. What does this mean for you as an American traveler? If you're planning a move with a pet that's too large for cabin travel, start researching and budgeting early. The days of booking your dog on Delta Cargo for a few $100s are over. You're now looking at professional relocation services that cost thousands, or ground transportation that can take days and still cost more than the old airline options. The aviation industry's quiet abandonment of pet cargo services represents more than just a policy change. It's a fundamental shift in how airlines view their responsibilities to American families. In an era where pets are increasingly considered family members, the major carriers have decided that serving military and diplomatic personnel is sufficient. For the 94 million households with pets, that decision has created a transportation crisis that's forcing impossible choices between family unity and financial stability. The next time you see a military family traveling with their pet through an airport, remember that they have access to services that used to be available to every American, but are now restricted based on employment status. That's the new reality of pet transportation in American aviation, a two-tier system that's left regular travelers scrambling for alternatives in a market that airlines created and then abandoned. I hope you enjoyed the video and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching.